could find an awesome salesperson who can walk into your $2 million marketing agency or accountancy or e-commerce company and come up with a great sales system for you. But that person probably makes $2 million a year. You can't pay somebody who's that good to work for you. So because you probably have no systems, no repeatable process, then spend your money on operations. And so get yourself out of operations. So you can go find people that can make the day-to-day of implementing for customers and clients, and you can train them up and you can still be involved, making sure it's all quality. That's where you go spend your money to fix that so that you can spend your time on sales and marketing.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to the Small Business Black Holes, the podcast that shines a light on the hidden challenges of scaling a business. Hosted by Alan Pence, each episode explores the critical shifts entrepreneurs make as they grow beyond $1 million, $5 million, even $30 million, and move from brute force to sustainable professional growth. Stay with us as we uncover what it really takes to escape the black holes of business and scale with intention.
Talking about today.
We're gonna talk about sales and marketing, right? How to create growth that doesn't.
We titled it Sales Audit, so I don't love that, but I think the most I try to always think about what the most important thing is, rather than a laundry list of things, right? So to me, what I see most common for owners is small business owners is that they're all good at sales or marketing or both. Because if they're over $1 million, they are clearly good because they've sold something. So they've figured something out. Even if they're not great, they're at least able to do it. As I say, this really is only applicable to bootstrapped regular businesses. Venture capital backed businesses can do other things because they have capital and equity that they give away or sell or use, right, to attract talent that they couldn't afford. A company at that same revenue stage could not afford to pay for. So this is caveated to that, right?
It's not applied for capital.
So you can be a technical person with a good idea and hire salespeople because at a venture capital funded company because you can afford to pay them. And even if you're not paying them high market rates, you're giving them equity, which has the upside potential. And a regular Main Street business, it can grow and it can be great, but it just doesn't have that same growth expectation or trajectory. And so you can't really, it's really foolish actually to use equity as compensation. And that's another presentation.
That's another day.
So the reality is almost every small business owner that hits 1 or 2 million in revenue, at least, is a good salesperson or a good marketer, right? And what I see happen constantly, this happened in my own business when I was growing it, and I see this over and over with people I coach, is they get distracted. So, or some version of distracted or resentful and don't want to do sales and marketing. So usually what happens is they sell stuff, they get into a groove, it goes well. So that brings in a lot of work. So now operations get stressed and the delivery to clients and customers, and that breaks. And because they didn't prepare for that, they have to run over and fix operations. And then what happens when they do that? Sales and marketing stops. So then all of a sudden it's like, oh wow, we had all this work. Where did all the customers go? So like new leads stop coming in, that kind of thing. So mostly I see early entrepreneurs get stuck around 1-2 million because they're ping-ponging back and forth between sales and operations.
Dreaded ping-pong, right?
That's right. So what's the way out of this? Well, I think 2 things we're going to talk about today. The first is, my common thing to an owner is they'll usually come in this state and be like, I want to hire a sales guy or gal, right? And so I don't know why so many people go that direction. I guess like sales is hard, right? Operations is not easy, but it's more, it's less risky. It's less, I guess you don't get rejected in operations the way you do in sales, right? You can do sales and you can kind of be running around doing stuff and like customers are saying no. And you're like, wow, I just wasted all my time. Whereas in operations is like a more defined.
It doesn't impact your ego.
Right. And it's a little more like, hey, we promise the customer this, there's a contract or there's a product or there's whatever. And like, it's logical how you give it to them. Right. And when they have a problem with it, it's logical how you fix it. It's not the dance and uncertainty of sales, I think. So granted, I think probably operations is, I'm not going to say operations is easy. I would say that operational talent, the ability to manage it, at least to some standard, is more common, much more common than the ability to sell and make up a sales system or marketing system. It's a rare talent, right?
And it sounds less fun.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it can be fun when you get it right, but it's not fun when you're reaping it. You don't have anything to show for it. So it's one of those boom bust kind of things, like a little manic depressive. So, yeah. So I think most owners will come in, they'll say, hey, I need to get a salesperson, marketing person to get those leads back going. And so my first thing is, all right, what are you doing? Yeah, you're doing operations, or you want to get out of both, right? And I'm saying, hey, you could find an awesome salesperson who can walk into your $2 million marketing agency or accountancy or e-commerce company or whatever it is, and come up with a great sales system for you. But that person probably makes $2 million a year and works for Microsoft or Oracle, right? You can't pay somebody who's that good to work for you.
Not a talking about, right?
Right. So because you probably have no systems, no repeatable process. So what I say is then spend your money on operations. And so get yourself out of operations. So you can go find people that can make the day-to-day of implementing for customers and clients. You can find those people and you can train them up, and you can still be involved, making sure it's all quality and that kind of thing. But like, that's where you go spend your money to fix that so that you can spend your time on sales and marketing. And it's not like I say that owners have to do every single thing in sales and marketing. No, the things that owners are essential for are selling. So if you're in professional services or something where there's like a large ticket item where you're actually talking to the customer, having selling conversations with customers is the invaluable skill, right? And then if you're in e-commerce or retail or something where it's more about getting the leads in, it's really the owner is the marketing analyst and strategist, where they're figuring out, what tools should we use? How do we put that together? What's the strategy? How do we measure this? How do we change as we do these measurements? And like, yeah, you can go hire marketing companies, but like, I don't know, man, it's trying to hold these people's feet to the fire and get real accountable results. That's a full-time job for the owner. So even if you hire those people, you got to spend all your time like riding herd on them. And most likely they're not going to get results for you because marketing is hard.
And expensive.
And it's very expensive. Believe me, I know. Believe me, I know. And you don't get much out of it, right? The ROI of marketing is terrible until you figure it out. And then all of a sudden,
you can do it yourself.
That's right. So what I've tried to do also is today I wanted to talk a little bit about how can you start using other tools to support the owner in their efforts, right? So I always recommend get everything off your plate in operations first. Then think, unless it's like big customer interaction. You can do some of that, right? But then when you get into sales and marketing, let's really focus on there's a great guy, Justin Roth-Marsh, he wrote a book called The Machine on how to structure sales systems. He just calls them selling conversations. So how do we get the owner just focused on selling conversations? And then I think the other thing is marketing strategy and analytics, right? So those are the two things that we need to get the owner focused on. So as I say here, again, marketing talent is scarce and you have it. Sales and marketing talent, you have it because you exist, right? So we know that. If you're no, this doesn't apply. If you're a 500K company where you're kind of just paying yourself for, work with one or two clients, maybe you don't know how to sell, I don't know. But like once you get over 1 million, it's almost inevitable that you've sold to multiple people. And so you're able to do it, right? But what we can do is really focus on getting you out of the grunt work, right?
Out of the grunt work.
Yeah. Right. And make your time as valuable as possible. And let's also just say quickly, this is not true forever, right? My dictum about the owner needs to sell into the marketing. I do think that when you start getting up above 5 million and you get closer to 10, it's time. And obviously these are general, numbers, right?
Yes.
If all your stuff is passed through, like you're a construction company and you're just passing through a bunch of stuff, you're not a $10 million company. You're a $1 million construction services company with $9 million in subs, right? So it does change a bit depending on, I would look probably at gross margin, right? So it's like when your gross margin gets above 5-6 million, you should probably start thinking about, how do I create a sales system? And so owners tend to be really good, unless they were trained somewhere else, at selling themselves, but they're not great at constructing sales departments and systems that other people can use. And similarly with marketing, I think what drove you to get to that 5-6 million in gross margin or 10 million, in revenue, it's probably going to start having diminishing returns at some point. So you're going to have to come up with more. And when you start getting bigger, then you got to sell more. You probably have to sell bigger deals, bigger product, whatever it is. That requires you to mature those functions. And that's when I start saying, and now you have revenue, right? You have money. So like if you're making $500K a year in profit and you have to hire a $250,000 salesperson, that's a big hit to your profit, right?
Yeah. No.
But when you're making 3 or 4 million, it's not as big a deal, right? So at that point, you can afford somebody, and you really want to get somebody from outside. So I say this often. I promoted all these people internally at that around 7-8 million.
In your company, in your experience.
Yeah, in my first company, yeah.
Yeah.
And I had no idea how to create a new sales department and process. They didn't. It was a blind leading the dumb. And like they all ended up getting fired or leave because it didn't work.
That must have hurt.
Yes, it was terrible. So don't do that.
Yeah.
Go hire somebody experienced. It's not easy to find.
The pain, Alan.
That's right. It's not easy. It's not like you can go out and find somebody like that, right? But go to somebody who's like worked at another small company, maybe been in a big company too. They've seen how a department is structured. They know the kinds of metrics and systems you need to set up. And that's how you interview them. You look for people. How do you set up system? How do you measure this? How do you know, like you got to ask them that stuff. But when you're starting to hit that point, that's when you need to go out and get somebody who's been there and seen it before and knows how to duplicate that. Right.
So the question, do owners get this when you're talking to your clients, talking to other owners? Like what do you have to say to get this point?
I have to tell them how many people I
listen to me.
I have to say, you're not going to get there. So like you either do this or you're going to fail. Right. So anyway, so keep that in mind, right? Like this isn't true forever. It's true till a certain size and where you can afford better sales process. So, but on the way there, I think that there's a lot we can do now, right? And especially AI is enabling us to really go past anything we've ever done before. Um, yeah. So I think, look, start simple and start building in, you can get a virtual assistant, right? You don't need it to be an AI
Mhm.
um, person, or AI system. But the reality is most sales and marketing are lost because we're not on top of stuff, right? So if we can increase response time, if we can be consistent in follow-ups, um, we have a huge advantage over our competition. And AI is really automating this for us now, right?
Right.
So that's the first thing I think people should do. Because what AI agents are allowing, or just AI programs, whatever you want to call them, like you used to have, like, I mean, you could say that forwarding in your Gmail was an agent, right? I mean, if an email comes in, forwarded here, that's almost an agent, right? But like the reality is, what AI has really done is this thing about bringing the intelligence into it, so it can read a message, understand what the message is and the chain of the message, and it can draft a response.
Mm.
And this is in the email context, right? We'll talk about it in some
Right.
other contexts. And then obviously you want the human in the loop. We still don't trust agents to just automate everything completely, but we get approval and then I can execute and track everything. So this is like a real liberation, I think, for owners. And like you can now start selling at a much higher clip using AI as most of the stuff. Now, the actual selling conversation and the actual strategy to implement marketing and sales, that still has to be the owner,
That's the owner, right?
right? But these agents are going to really accelerate you, right? So let's talk about what they are really. So there's kind of three I look at right now. This is a very quickly evolving field, so this could be different in a month. But there's really like the knowledge agents, so that's your ChatGPT and stuff like that, right? So
Mhm.
they can answer questions. There's workflow automation. So this is like building off of Zapier, Make, all these kind of programs that we've had before, but now with LLMs hooked in, the workflows can do intelligent tasks. So we're going to look at that a little bit. And then there are these persistent ones, right? And this is where I think the most interesting long-term stuff is happening, is these automated agents that are doing things in the background, obviously with your approval. But this is where the biggest development is going to happen. Is right now what we're doing persistently is limited, but as these things start being able to do things on their own, they get much more powerful. So
For the helpers, you call them the persistent helpers.
yeah, so they're going to be able to take on increasingly sophisticated ongoing tasks, like talking to your customers, like
Mm.
looking in your CRM and telling you when there's warning signs, like things like that, right?
Mhm.
And right now they have trouble. There's a difficulty with agents, these kind of helpers going out and acting and getting information from websites and other agents, because of the way the web, frankly, is structured. It doesn't work very well. You can see some of the preliminary, like Devin is a tool like this. The agent function in ChatGPT, you can see that they just released. There's some others. And the problem is they really choke on other websites that are structured to traditional way. And
Mhm.
what's happened is Anthropic, who's one of the big competitors of OpenAI, they actually all the leadership worked at OpenAI, broke off. They created a standard called Model Context Protocol, MCP, a couple of years ago, I guess. And they put that out there and said, this is a way for agents to talk to each other, right? And it's like if you look at what happens now, there are APIs, application protocol, they have
Okay.
application protocol
Okay.
interface or
Mhm.
programming interface, whichever, I can't remember. Um, and that's a way that, like, when you have one program that talks to another, they go through an API. And so those are all custom right now. So someone creates their API, puts it out. There's some things like REST API, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, just right now, it takes a lot of custom programming to integrate these things. Model context protocol is an effort to say, my agent that does, answers my email, talks to your agent, and they can, which like makes, maybe sends emails to me, right? Whatever. And they can talk to each other and say, this is what I do and how I give information. And the other one can say, this is how I receive and, take it and then process it. And then they can adjust to each other and mix and match without you being involved. So that's where we're going, is like once everyone kind of, and now, so Anthropic created that. And then just earlier this year, OpenAI, Microsoft, and several others endorsed the protocol. So now everybody's building to it. And you'll see this thing, connectors, that's in Claude. And I think they call it the same thing in ChatGPT now. You'll start seeing increasingly these connectors come up. This is all MCP protocol. And so this offers this new thing where agents can talk to agents. They'll have rules for what they can do with each other, but we don't have to build these custom integrations that we did with APIs. So anybody on MCP can just hook into anything else, right?
So this is, I mean, it sounds, for somebody who doesn't, you're actually, this because you're doing it. It's right. What you're building OwnerRx doing this.
Yeah. So with the OwnerRx tool that we'll talk about a little bit at the end, we're building everything in MCP so it can connect to everything else.
Yeah.
That's the goal. Now, right now, so say like we're looking at QuickBooks integration so we can do financial dashboarding. As I understand it right now, and of course this is changing day to day, I think Intuit's going to do MCP, and maybe they have some stuff, but it doesn't do what we need it to do. And so we're still having to build to the API. But my anticipation is in 6 months, a year, that we won't need to build that anymore. You can just have that. You can say, hey, I want QuickBooks integration. And as long as it'll just, your agent will go get that info. And as long as it authenticates, right, there'll still be the security part. You'll be able to do it without any special program. So it's going to change. So we're deep, but here but think about this, like for you as a salesperson, there are a bunch of just knowledge assistants that I think are low hanging fruit that help you with sales. Okay. So I built a bunch of custom GPTs. You can do this in Claude too with projects. And like when a customer, so like every sales call I ever do, I did a deep research report on like, what are the best sales practices out there? I created a custom GPT in ChatGPT. So if you go to the browser and create it, I said, hey, create a sales evaluator that grades me based on this deep research report from best ways to sell. And now every time I do a sales call, I download a transcript and I upload it, and it scores me on my sales call.
So you're getting graded every time. That's so cool.
And then I can, as these things get better, right now it has a limited amount of data it can process. But like as these things get better, I can actually have it look across all my sales calls and then say, what trends do you see? How can I get better? Oh, how should I make my script better that I talk to people with? That kind of thing. And oh, by the way, if you have other salespeople, I mean, some tools are starting to do this now, but you could just do it by making everyone send in their transcript. You can look across your entire sales force, right? And see who's doing well and who's not.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a coaching client I was working with who did this, and they had one salesperson who's a lot better than the other two, and they downloaded the scripts or the transcripts, put it through ChatGPT, and it said, "This is why this person's better." They do a better job connecting at the beginning, and then I think they had something about the closing, how they said, hey, do you want to actually do this like at the end? So there were like two key things that now have raised their closing rates, right? I also think proposal generation is great here. You can have, you can have a custom, so you had a back and forth on email, anything recorded or anything written, you can upload it and be like, hey, write me a proposal based on this, and it'll just do it for you. Right.
So you're saving so much time and it's making you better.
Yeah, it's more than just time even. It's like, I don't know how you would get that sales evaluation before this. I mean, you'd have to pay a consultant to sit there and listen to it. right?
Yeah.
That would be very expensive. It'd be thousands of dollars, right? So this is just like janky, throw it together kind of stuff, right? Because it's like I still got to copy and paste, my Otter AI transcript, put it in, and ask it to evaluate it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, that to me, that's fine. But, it's not like some seamless system that like perfectly integrates everything, right?
No, but it's
Um,
helpful. It's low hanging fruit helpful,
right.
right? 'Cause you-
And then as you go through, look at like ask it questions. Like I've got 5 transcripts of sales calls, or I got 5 email chains.
Mhm.
Um, you know, how did my offer land? How did the closing land? Like it can tell you how to improve your offer, right? So I think these are the kind of things that can take a lot of weight off the owner and make them much better. The other thing right now is Claude is hooked into it now. If you look at it, it has in the chatbot interface at the bottom, and this is, I believe, in ChatGPT now. I have not hooked it up yet. So don't take it to the bank.
Don't do it yet.
But there's like a little tools thing at the bottom of the Claude interface. When you click on it, that's where these MCP connectors are, and you can connect it to your Gmail right now. I don't think it can connect to Outreach, but you can pull your client. It can go in and find. You say like, "Hey, go look over the last 6 months my conversation with this client or customer, and evaluate it, and tell me how I could do better." It can do that right now. It can find all the emails and evaluate it for you in like 5 minutes.
And
So
it works.
it's pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds very powerful.
Yeah. Now, if you want to get like a little more advanced, you could start using things like Zapier, Make, and Lindy is a kind of a new player. So first of all, Zapier, I mean, they have these ways of connecting. I think it's like 6,000 or more. It's probably even more than that. It's thousands of programs to each other. So they're like little kind of like API connectors. And what you can do is say like, if every one of your calls is a sales call, it could you could go into Zapier and say, connect my Otter AI to ChatGPT, to the analyzer that I built. And like you could say every time you have to have a trigger action in Zapier, and it's really easy. You just click like, actually right now they have a AI thing where you can just type in what you want and it'll try to find one that's already been connected that way. So most likely almost every use case you have has already been done by somebody else. So it's just auto populate. Very easy. Yeah. You go to Zapier, register, go in, it'll have an AI screen and it says, what do you want to build? And you say it and then it'll connect. So you'll say like every time a transcript gets inputted or saved in Otter, trigger, this send to OpenAI and run this thing on it, right? So if somebody's already built that, it'll just show you it in a little diagram, and then you log in to both programs, connect it, boom, it's starting to do it. And then it can send, and then once OpenAI does the analysis, it can email you the result right to your Gmail. So this Zapier can connect that kind of stuff. And they're building more and more agentic things where you have connector, you can run agents. The difference between a connector and an agent, I don't really know at this point. Zapier is adding more and more functionality. So put it that way. Lindy is one where they've it's similar to Zapier. It's a little more expensive, but they've connected. You go into Lindy and they have them already built out and it can do more steps. So Zap, if you get beyond a couple of steps, the Zap tends to break and it doesn't work as well, but Lindy can do more complex flows. The only thing I found in Lindy is it doesn't think, right? So it's like, you can also create a database of like, so if you had, every time someone comes in to the web page, it clicks on this box, it can answer questions, but only from a set of answers that you've already provided. Okay. It doesn't go and like use OpenAI to like think through it, right? So Lindy is a little more restricted, but it's much more complicated agents. And it's great for sales. Yeah, it's newer. Okay. This is like a new platform. So it's great for sales. or like invoice due reminder, those kind of. So go in and explore Lindy. It's really cool. I'm not using that quite as much, but a lot of people like it if they have high email volume or repetitive processes, which I don't tend to have as many. And then this is where the real gold is coming, these persistent
Good stuff.
Yeah. So this up here is a lot of time saving, right? I mean, this is cool. Like having it look at your sales transcripts, that's real knowledge and data. This stuff is kind of like, hey, I'm automating stuff to get rid of repetitive activities, right? Down here is, I think, where we're going to see the most change in the future. And so we're actually testing instantly.ai right now. There's a category of these, like they're cold email outreach engines. And, like you've had things like Apollo, which is just a big database of contacts. There's like Zoom info, and they have various levels of, they have a lot of contact info, email addresses, phone numbers for people by any job, profession, geography. I mean, they just had millions and millions of these contacts.
So it's like a giant phone book.
Yeah, essentially. It's all just scraped, and when you register for apps and stuff, that's it all goes to Apollo and these people, right? Zoom info. And so like they've just been like kind of dumb databases until recently. Now both Apollo and Zoom info are adding increasingly agent functions on top. But there's a new class of things like Clay is the other one I've heard that we have not used, but it sounds really good. And like it can either take an Apollo contact, or I think it can integrate with LinkedIn. And what it'll do is go scrape the web for they call it data enrichment. It'll go find other data about that person based on their profile. So you get a much more complete version of who they are. And that's using AI to process that. Now, instantly, it's kind of doing the same thing, but then you can build campaigns where it's reaching out to talk to the people, email them, and then it's using, I don't know what LLM they're using. I'm assuming it's ChatGPT, but who knows? And it's using that to dynamically talk to the person if they respond. So like you send out an email, and it's doing the Clay thing where it's getting context on the person. So it tailors the message to that person. You're, of course, inputting what you want it to generally say. And then a person emails back, has the ability to respond. And so I don't know how, I believe you've got to stay on top of it.
Yeah.
To tune it and make sure it's not going off, and you got to spend some time on it. But over time, people have told me that once they get it working, it really works. And like, the thing is, it's working 24 hours a day. It's not working from 9 to 5.
That's more than even you.
Yeah. I mean, I don't work 9 to 5. So, I mean, God, this agent's like 18 Allens, right? So it's pretty amazing. Right. And like, yeah. So here's an example, like, hey, I noticed your company raised Series A. If you were selling to startups, right? You struggle with this pain point. Is it worth a quick chat? Or, maybe you don't want to be as salesy as that. You want to be like, hey, I noticed this. Like, you don't even reference like something and that's yours. You just reference something else. Like, hey, do you have this problem? We noticed this. Is that true? And they're like, yeah. And then you're like, okay, well, it did. Blah blah blah. So we're going to be testing this, and I want to come back with some more data on it. Right now, we're using it to get people to sign up for our newsletter.
Yeah.
You can sign up for it on our OwnerRx.com and to get onto the wait list for the beta of our tool that's coming out in October. So that I think is really cool. So I think you're going to see much more of this kind of stuff where you have an intelligent agent that learns over time and gets better and better. And so I really think the low-level sales development rep and business development rep is kind of doomed because this thing responds faster. It learns more. I mean, there's this guy, Jason Lemkin, who has a media company called SaaStr, big SaaS investor. And he was like, these guys, like, you can't even get SDRs don't even know your product most of the time because they're moving around to companies and they're, not doing all the reading they need to do. And this thing knows everything, right? So when it asks a question, when somebody's like, oh, can OwnerRx do this? It'll have the information, right?
Yeah, it's so crazy. And it's evolving so quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, every week we've got something else.
So, I mean, another example of this, if you want a little more, a lead nurturing that maybe is a little more, connected together, you can use like something like Active Campaign and ChatGPT API to, tailor email messages out. Here's some examples of like, you could use QuickBooks to Zapier to Gmail for an invoice collection agent, right? So that's not quite sales. It's a little different. I just came up with this morning, the Phantom Buster. I've not looked at this yet. The other thing is Expandy is another one that's like a LinkedIn engagement bot that has been getting really good feedback. And like, you approve messages by Slack, right? But it's basically out there talking to people on LinkedIn for you.
What is it called?
This one is Phantom Buster. There's another one called Expandy, like expand with an I. Yeah. Yeah, they, all the URLs are gone, right?
Right.
So, obviously Instantly is something I recommend it as a lot. We just started using it, so I don't know. Clay, I've heard a lot of good things about the enrichment. Again, I haven't used it. Lindy is great. I've used Lindy. It works well, but it's less intelligent than these two. So anyway, what I say is like, start small, whatever your biggest issue is. Like if it's email, take a look at one of those things. But really think about these things as like accelerating your sales process. You can respond faster. You can reach out to more people. And by the way, your competitors are going to be doing this. So you've got to start arming.
You got to do it.
So say I'm competing with somebody, I get my Instantly working really, really well. I spend like the clock cycles over 3 or 4 months. And, even with current capability, that's going to, 3x my ability. And then like there's some increase, like ChatGPT 6 comes out and all of a sudden, bam, my thing just 10x'd. And like, you're still trying to figure out what it does. Right. So you got to get out there and start using sites. Right. So, for I think the easy thing is for the buried owner who's got 1,000 emails. I mean, go get Superhuman, right? It does this for you, but you can use these other tools to smart sort, draft replies so that when you come in, you've categorized things by urgency, you've got draft replies to everything, and you just tap and approve, right? So I think like, what's that?
It's doable.
Yeah. Like what I think works now, email management, lead follow-up, lead prospecting, I think is starting to work, right? Data entry, obviously, this thing with like collections. But like what's not working is selling conversations, complex strategies, that figuring out how to use these things and what the strategy should be, and then course correcting them if they get off. That's still got to be it, right? So, if
some plan. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. So we give a little action plan. I mean, basically just like go out and start experimenting, right?
Yep.
Go pick a tool, pick a major problem that's keeping you from doing more sales or part of sales that you can automate. Go out and do it, right? And test it, right? So
don't, others are.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So, my thing is the key things to remember, don't try to do everything at once. It's too hard. So many things, and it's changing so quick. Don't like just let it go talk to people without you getting involved, right? And make sure you measure, right? Because you really got to make sure these things, because we're so new and the services are so these companies are under pressure to get features out that are AI enabled. right? Because that's
Yeah.
what's growing in the market. So like there's going to be a bunch of BS that doesn't work very well, and you don't want to be paying for work. So you really got to stay on top of this and keep, do webinars like this, read what you need, right? So
Learn
and then just,
right? Like learn from people doing it, like
of
yourself.
course, yeah.
Yes.
So I still say, owners really should know the core customer, the strategy, key account selling, the overall brand and narrative, obviously building relationships with partners. But these other things, these can be done by agents, and you don't need to know them anymore. To be honest, I think the CRM hygiene is, like almost nobody has an up-to-date CRM, right? I think pretty soon we won't even have CRMs. I mean, I think the agents are just going to do it, right?
What do you mean by CRM hygiene, Alan?
So that's just like keeping the data in your customer relationship management database like up to date.
Yeah.
This is pretty repetitive. So, one thing we're talking about, if you're interested, is our tool OwnerRx is going to be. Oh, whoops. Go to this one. Yep, OwnerRx. Sorry, that was from another presentation. We are going to be having modules in there. So part of OwnerRx is it's a AI business assistant for small business owners. It's trained on all my methodologies from coaching, all my podcasts, and everything I've ever done. And then we've gone out and shored it up with other knowledge from the web and other places. And we've really got it working. Well, we're close to really having it working as an agent-based system, which will tailor what its advice is to you in your situation, right? So it's really supposed to be there by you as you're running your business, helping you prioritize, helping you figure out what problems to solve and how to go about solving them. And it's going to have, I'm training it right now on our experiences using these tools. So we have like an AI implementation module where we're going to be going through and saying, okay, here's the kind of things that you should be knocking off first to like get, like if your email is out of control, you need to go start looking at tools like Lindy and Super.
Like a checklist to get people started.
Yeah. So part of the tool is going to be, helping people through that decision process and implementation process. So, and then over time, we're going to keep building in the agent capability of it. So at some point, it might do some of these functions as well. Right now, we're taking the position of being the owner's advisor and the person helping you run the business, like your command center. We're not trying to do every function of the business, right? We integrate with the software that does that. But if you want, we're hopefully, 2 weeks, we're doing our alpha launch to a very small group of people just to like test it. But by early October, we're anticipating beginning releasing to beta waitlist users. So if you're interested in it, here's a QR code. Just put your phone up there and
Scan it.
If you don't have time or it doesn't work or whatever, go to the OwnerRx.com page. You'll see a thing there, and then you can sign up for the newsletter. I write about this kind of stuff, my personal take on business and what I'm learning from coaching, and then also about a lot about AI and how I'm using it to build OwnerRx and use it in my day-to-day life. So
very cool.
Yeah.
It's good stuff. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm learning a lot.
And we are going to be continuing this series of LinkedIn models. I think we're just going to do one most Thursdays. Next week, I have to postpone. Oh, no, I'm doing next week. Okay. So next week, we are doing another one on operations, I think. I can't remember.
No. Yes.
Well, we're going to walk through each of the pillars of my, OwnerRx, which is just a pillar is a function of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So, and talking through like a lot of it's going to focus on how to use AI to like help with that pillar and just some like general principles I bring to it. So for operations, we're going to talk a lot about figuring out what the bottleneck is in your business.
Ooh, the dreaded bottleneck.
Yeah, so I'm a big bottleneck guy. So we're going to talk a little bit about the goal, right? Fellow Goldratt and bottleneck rules and those kind of things. So until next week.
Yeah.
And Tanya will be back. What next week?
No,
Back in Spain?
2 weeks. I'm still in the great state of Maine, the way life should be. And then in 2 weeks, back in
You will be in
Spain.
lovely sun, Cugat.
Lovely sun for that again. Yeah.
Excellent. All right. Well, thanks, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it.
You've been listening to the Small Business Black Holes podcast with Alan Pence. For more insights on mastering the new game, follow @apent, that's APENTZ on X. And make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss a single episode. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, in today's world, you don't follow the rules, you write them.